The silence of the inner sanctum is thick and sweet, a cocoon against the cold reality of the shattered plains. You reach out, your fingers tracing the lines of Yosef's palm, a hand that has held yours through mountain passes and swamp rot. You lift it to your lips, pressing a soft, lingering kiss to the center of his hand. The skin is warming now, the life returning to him in the quiet of the hearth.
I'm glad it was you, Yusef. I couldn't have shared that burden with anyone else. Not many could have looked into that mist and stayed whole.
Yosef's fingers curl slightly against your cheek, his touch a gentle anchor. He looks at you with an intensity that makes the flickering firelight seem dim by comparison.
I didn't stay whole for the world, Wyndra. I stayed whole for you. When the coal tried to pull me under, I just kept thinking of the way you looked on the high spire, defiant even against the wind.
He pulls you closer, his arm a solid weight across your waist, tucking your head back into the hollow of his shoulder. The heavy furs provide a sanctuary where the title of queen and scavenger no longer matter.
Tomorrow, we become legends or ghosts. But tonight, we are just survivors.
We will be more than survivors. We will be the dawn that breaks the Duke's shadow. Sleep now. I'll be here when the iron wakes.
The last of the embers crumble into gray ash, and the mountain's natural rhythm, the dripping water, the distant groan of shifting rock, becomes a lullaby. You drift into a dreamless sleep, the first true rest you've known since the fall of the Aurelian capital. The transition is jarring. A massive, resonant horn blast shatters the silence of the sanctum. You bolt upright, the furs sliding to the floor. The air is no longer cool and quiet. It vibrates with a low-frequency thrum that rattles the very stone beneath your boots. You and Yosef make your way to the overlook of the Great Forge. Below, the scene is one of controlled chaos. The rivers of molten ore are glowing a violent, electric blue, fueled by the ether shards. In the center of the cavern, the primary iron sentinel stands fully upright, its blackened iron plates hissing as steam vents from its shoulders. Hager stands at the base of the machine, his braided silver beard reflecting the sapphire light of the core. He looks up as you approach the railing.
The spark has taken. The first of the giants is awake, and the others are drinking from the same well. The blockade won't know what hit it.
Cora, perched on a maintenance gantry, wipes a smear of blue-tinged grease from her forehead and grins.
She's humming like a choir of angels, Wyndra. We're ready to move. The path to the surface is primed.
The massive iron sentinel takes its first step, the impact shaking the entire cavern. The Duke's garrison is only a few miles away, perched atop the cliffs, unaware that the mountain is about to spit fire and iron. You feel the weight of the mission returning, but the hollow in your chest is filled with a cold, sharp purpose. The vibration of the iron sentinel's first step travels up through the soles of your boots, a rhythmic thrum that matches the pulse of the ether shards. You lean over the iron railing of the gantry, your eyes fixed on the glowing sapphire core visible through the gaps in the automaton's chest plates. The strategic weight of the coming battle presses down on you, sharper than the lingering cold of the marsh.
Cora, if the Duke's line holds, or if they bring up those heavy ballistae, can we overload the core? a single massive discharge to clear the path if we get pinned down.
Cora pauses, her wrench mid-turn as she hangs precariously from the gantry. She looks at the pulsing blue light of the primary sentinel, then back at you, a predatory grin spreading across her grease-stained face.
It's risky. Those shards aren't stable, Wyndra. You'd be venting raw aether through the steam pipes. It'll blow a hole through a reinforced gate, sure, but it might melt the Sentinel's legs right off in the process.
You'd sacrifice a masterpiece for a moment's leverage? That machine is worth 100 of the Duke's men.
Yosef steps up beside you, his hand resting on the hilt of his curved blade. He looks out over the bustling forge, his expression hardening as the reality of the assault takes hold.
A masterpiece is useless if it's a pile of scrap at the bottom of a trench, Hagar.
If the Queen says we need a hammer blow, we find a way to deliver it.
Cora wipes her hands on her apron and nods once, decisively.
I can rig a bypass. Pull the emergency pressure release, and the aether shards will vent forward in a cone of pure kinetic force. One shot.
After that, the Sentinel's a very expensive paperweight until I can recool the core.
The massive cavern doors at the far end of the forge begin to groan open, revealing a glimpse of the jagged mountain pass and the pale light of dawn. The Duke's encampment lies just beyond the ridge. You can hear the distant sound of a war horn from the surface. The enemy is waking up, but they aren't ready for the mountain to walk. The air in the great forge is thick with the smell of ozone and superheated grease. You look down at Cora, your voice cutting through the rhythmic thundering of the hydraulic presses.
Rig the bypass, Cora. We use it only as a last resort to break their main line. If we get pinned in the narrows of the pass, I want a way to blow the path wide open.
Cora gives a sharp, toothy grin and begins sliding down a cooling pipe like a practiced acrobat, her wrench clanking against her belt.
You heard the Queen? Reroute the secondary aether flow to the forward vents. If she pulls the red lever, I want enough kick to knock the moon out of the sky.
High Smith Hager grunts, his massive arms crossing over his barrel chest. He doesn't look happy about the potential destruction of his work, but the pragmatism of a general overrides the pride of the craftsman.
Then the strategy is set. The Sentinels will provide the anvil, and your resolve will be the hammer. Don't waste the charge, girl.
Those shards were paid for in soul stuff.
Yosef steps closer to you, his hand momentarily resting on your shoulder. The warmth of his touch is a grounding contrast to the mechanical roar surrounding you.
The men are ready. The Iron Peak captains have signaled from the lower barracks. We move on your word.
The massive obsidian doors groan as they pivot on ancient, oil-slicked hinges. A blast of freezing mountain air rushes in, swirling with the steam of the forge. Beyond the threshold, the world is a bruised purple gray, the first light of dawn catching the crimson tents of the Duke's encampment nestled in the valley below. The primary iron sentinel lurches forward, its heavy metallic footsteps echoing like thunder claps against the stone. As you reach the precipice, you see the Duke's scouts scrambling below. Horns blare in the distance, sharp, panicked notes. A line of heavy infantry begins to form, their shields overlapping in a wall of polished steel, while ballistic units on the flanks begin to crank their massive winches. The mountain itself seems to inhale as you step to the very edge of the precipice. Below, the Duke's camp is a frantic hive of crimson and gold, soldiers scrambling to don chest plates and find their footing in the slushy mountain pass. You raise your hand, your fingers curling into a fist that catches the first pale ray of the sun.
No more hiding! Sentinels, advance! Break their line before they can find their footing. For the fallen and for the future, charge!
The ground groans as the primary iron sentinel steps past you, its massive weight shearing rock from the cliffside. Steam hisses from its vents in a great white plume, and the sapphire glow of the ether shards pulses with a violent, rhythmic intensity. Behind it, two more metallic giants emerge from the forge's gloom, their footsteps sounding like the heartbeat of a vengeful god.
Look at them run. They thought they were sieging a mountain, not waking a titan.
The Duke's heavy infantry attempts to form a testudo, their interlocking shields a wall of polished steel. A volley of massive ballista bolts screams through the air, clanging harmlessly off the sentinel's blackened iron chest. The automaton doesn't even slow. It raises a massive, piston-driven fist and brings it down, shattering the shield wall like glass. Fall back to the secondary line. The mountain is moving. Yosef is a blur of maroon and steel beside you, his curved blade drawing arcs of silver as he cuts down a scout, attempting to flank the sentinel's legs.
They cannot hold Wyndra. The center is buckling.
The primary sentinel is deep in the enemy camp now, crushing supply wagons and scattering cavalry. However, the Duke's mages have emerged from a central pavilion, their hands glowing with a sickly yellow light as they begin to weave a binding spell around the giant's legs, the iron glowing red-hot under their influence. The primary iron sentinel lurches beneath you, its massive shoulder a vibrating platform of blackened iron. Below, the Duke's mages have formed a triangle, their hands weaving a sickly yellow web of kinetic energy that glows white-hot where it binds the automaton's joints. The metal groans, steam whistling shrilly from overtaxed vents. You don't wait for the machine to buckle.
I'll handle the mages myself. Yusef, Cora, keep the infantry off me.
You sprint across the sentinel's broad back, the wind of the high pass whipping your dark hair against your face. With a primal shout, you leap into the frigid air. For a heart-stopping second, the world is a blur of gray stone and crimson tents. Then you tuck and roll, hitting the slushy ground with a heavy thud just yards from the spell circle.
Wyndra, watch the blank!
Yusef is a whirlwind of maroon silk and silver steel behind you, his curved blade clashing against the halberds of the Duke's guard. He parries a thrust that would have taken you in the side, his green eyes flashing with a desperate, battle-hardened focus.
Give 'em hell, Queen! I'm venting the forward pipes. Don't breathe the blue stuff.
A hiss of superheated ether steam erupts from the sentinel above, creating a shimmering, sapphire fog that blinds the archers on the ridge. You spring from your roll, drawing your blade in one fluid motion. The lead mage, a man in scorched yellow robes, eyes widening in shock as you breach their perimeter.
Break the circle! Protect the focus!
The yellow web flickers as Varos loses his concentration. One mage is already reaching for a crystal dagger, while the third begins to channel a raw bolt of lightning directly at your chest. The sentinel's leg is glowing a dangerous cherry red, the iron beginning to warp under the heat of their remaining spell. The air crackles with the ozone of the mage's binding spell, the yellow light casting distorted, sickly shadows against the churned mud. You don't slow down.
Your circle is broken, Varos. The mountain doesn't bow to scorched silk.
You soar over the lead mage's head, your blade a silver blur in the dawn light. As you pass, the edge of your steel catches the heavy gold medallion at his chest, severing the chain and slicing through his singed yellow robes in one fluid motion.
The focus, the resonance is failing.
The yellow web, tethering the iron sentinel shatters into 1,000 stinging sparks. The massive automaton, suddenly freed from the kinetic drag, lurches forward with a triumphant hiss of steam. Its massive foot comes down inches from the spell circle, the shockwave sending the remaining mages sprawling into the slush.
The path is open! Wyndra, the command tent! The Duke's banners are falling!
Yosef cuts through the last of the inner guard, his maroon robes stained with mud, but his movements as graceful as a dancer. He reaches your side just as the primary sentinel raises its arm, the ether shards in its chest poolsing a blinding, steady sapphire.
Pressure's peaking! If you want that last resort, now's the time, Queen! The whole garrison is bottlenecked at the valley floor!
The Duke's main force is in full retreat, a chaotic mass of crimson tauberds fleeing toward the lower pass. However, a fresh unit of heavy cavalry is rallying near the command pavilion, preparing a desperate, suicidal charge to buy their lord time to escape. The Sentinel's core is screaming, the bypass cora rigged vibrating with lethal energy.